Hey everyone, welcome. So today, we're not going to just talk about AWS identity and access management. We're going to talk about mastering it. We're moving past seeing IAM as this boring security chore, And we're going to start thinking about it as a set of really smart strategic patterns that can make your whole cloud setup way better and way more secure. All right, let's get into it.
This is the big question, right? It's the classic tightrope walk. You've got to let your teams move fast, build cool stuff, but you also have to lock down your resources and your data. Give them too little access, and everything grinds to a halt. But give them too much, and you're just one typo away from a really, really bad day.
And the main tool AWS gives us to solve this puzzle is IAM. At its heart, it's all about answering two simple but critical questions. First, who are you? That's the authentication part. And second, okay, what are you allowed to touch? That's authorization. Today, we're skipping the basics and jumping straight to the really elegant patterns you can build with this thing.
Okay, let's start with our first pattern, something you'll see all the time. Your company has multiple AWS accounts, maybe one for dev, another for production, a separate one for the data science team. So how do you let an analyst from the data team safely poke around in the production account without creating a total security mess?
Well, you've got two ways to go about this. The old way, and frankly, it's a nightmare, is to create a separate user for that person in every single account. That means more passwords, more access keys floating around, and your developers are constantly logging in and out all day. It's just messy. But the smart way? We use roles. The best way to think about it is like a hotel keycard. Your user has their main key to their home account, but when they need to pop over to another account, you give them a temporary guest keycard. That's the role, which only opens very specific doors for a limited time. No juggling passwords, no permanent keys left lying around.
And setting this up is actually pretty straightforward. Here's how it works in 3 steps. First, in the account you want to get into, we'll call it the destination, you create a new role. And part of that role is a trust policy that basically says, hey, I trust people from this other specific account. Then, back in your main originating account, you give your user permission to use that role. And finally, the user just clicks a button to switch roles, and poof, they have temporary access. It's clean, it's secure, and you can track everything.
All right, that handles multiple accounts. But let's move on to our next pattern. What happens when your company really starts to grow? You're spinning up new projects, new teams, new servers every single day. How on earth do you manage permissions for all of that without going crazy?
This is a massive headache as you scale up. Your IAM policies start to look like an old phone book, just a giant, endless list of every single resource name. Every time someone creates a new database or a new bucket, an admin has to go in and manually edit that policy file. It's slow, it's super easy to make a mistake, and it just doesn't work long term.
So this brings us to a much smarter approach, attribute-based access control, or ABAC. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Instead of giving people permission to access specific things, you give them permission based on attributes. And in the world of AWS, these attributes are just simple little labels we call tags.
Let me show you a quick example of how this works. You can create one simple policy that says something like, a user can access any resource as long as their access project tag is the exact same as the resource's access project tag. So look here. The Project Pegasus engineer has the tag access project peg, and the Project Pegasus secret has the exact same tag. Boom! Access is automatically granted. You never had to write the secret's name in the policy at all.
And this right here, this is the magic of ABAC. The AWS documentation says it perfectly. It allows your teams and resources to grow with fewer changes to AWS policies. Think about that. A new developer joins Project Pegasus, you just give them the right tag. They create 5 new resources for the project, they just add the project tag. Access control just works. No more manual policy updates. It's a game changer.
Okay, for our third and final pattern today, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're not talking about what users can access, but what they can manage themselves. How do we get security admins out of the business of resetting passwords all day without, compromising security?
Well, the answer is to empower them. You can create a simple IAM policy that gives users permission to manage their own security stuff. This means they can change their own password whenever they want, they can rotate their own access keys, and most importantly, they can set up and manage their own multi-factor authentication, or MFA device.
And this is a really powerful cultural shift. It takes your security team from being a bottleneck, where every little request is a support ticket that someone has to wait on, to being an enabler. You're creating a culture of shared responsibility, where every single user is empowered to help secure their own account. It's not just faster, it's just plain better security.
So, let's take a breath. We've covered a lot of ground pretty quickly here. We've looked at 3 really powerful, distinct patterns for handling access control in AWS. Let's do a super quick recap of the new tools we've just added to our belts. First, we're using roles, our guest keycards, to securely jump between accounts without making a mess of duplicate users. Second, we're using tags and ABAC to build policies that automatically scale as our company grows. And third, we're empowering our users to manage their own credentials, turning security from a bottleneck into a shared responsibility for everyone.
When you get right down to it, IAM isn't just some lock on the door. When you start using these patterns, it becomes the actual blueprint for your entire cloud building. It defines all the hallways, the secure rooms, and who gets which keycard. So the real question to ask yourself is, which of these patterns are you going to master next to make your own blueprint even stronger?